There are some quarterbacks that carry on legacies. There's quarterbacks that come in after the trend or the standard has been set and continue to elevate the program where they're at. Then you have quarterbacks like Hendon Hooker, who transferred to a team like Tennessee or a national brand that traditionally has been pretty good but has fallen on hard times for pretty much decades. And he has helped, and it wasn't just him, but he has helped resurrect the Tennessee program back to where they believe they belong. And in reality, with a fan base that is that big, that has their own Navy, that is that loyal through thick and thin, they deserve it. So 20, 25, 30 years down the road, Tennessee is going to continue to have really good quarterbacks that go there. Josh Heupel's offense is very, very attractive. But Hendon Hooker is the guy that jump-started the engine. He is the guy that got the ball rolling for Tennessee, and it couldn't have happened to a better individual. Very excited to get to our interview with Hendon Hooker. But before we do that, David, you played the position. You watched Hendon. The transformation he made from Virginia Tech to Tennessee is about as big of a one as I have seen, with kind of an older guy making that move. It's almost Geno Smith college-esque in my opinion.
Yeah, well, obviously Josh Heupel had a lot to do with that, but even take the system and the scheme away that he was playing it at Tennessee, 70% completion percentage last year. Guys, I don't care if you're throwing routes on air, that's difficult to do. You add on top of that 3,100 yards with being robbed of an extra game because of the injury, and then 2 interceptions, 27 touchdown passes, 2 interceptions. Go back to the year before, he still had a 68% completion percentage. I think he threw, 31 TDs, 3 interceptions. The touchdown to interception ratio these guys are putting up, I think Justin Fields, what he was able to do with the Buckeyes, these recent quarterbacks, it's just absolutely insane. And if you don't turn the ball over and you can make plays, you're always going to have a future in the NFL.
Yeah, and Blaine, again, we've watched Hendon continue to progress. We know about how lethal he can be running. He's a long strider. You see him in person. You can see really how long he is. But he gets the ball out decently quick. My question to you for Hendon Hooker, if you look, he's about to turn 25, right? Mm-hmm. He's coming off a knee injury. And Josh Heupel's system for quarterbacks, guys in the NFL are a little bit wary because it is kind of a anomaly on the spectrum of offenses. Not that there are not things that translate to the NFL, but the style of it. I believe, though, Hendon Hooker has the off-the-field capability, the leadership capability, and the on-the-field physical talent to maybe be a steal from somebody in the second round. I don't think he's going first round, but I don't think he's fallen all the way to day 3.
He's going to be a second or third round guy. I mean, I think it all comes down to his injury. And another thing he was saying about Hendon, especially when he played at Tennessee, certain guys are just good football players and certain guys impact teams, right? Hendon Hooker impacted Tennessee in many different ways, and I think he can do that in the league. And you look at the quarterbacks. I mean, Huntley just made a Pro Bowl.
Yep.
I mean, you going to tell me Hendon Hooker probably in his first 3 years not going to be better than Huntley? I think he is. He's a better version of Josh Dobbs. There are places right now. I think the Colts would be a good fit. There are places right now in the NFL, depending on the system, and most of these systems are super different, but I see Hendon Hooker under center. I see Hendon Hooker in a play-action type offense, and I think Hendon Hooker could be a steal this draft. If you really give me the question of who I trust the most between Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, or Hendon Hooker, I am taking Hendon Hooker.
You 100%.
I am standing on a mountain and screaming that I would trust my offense more with Hendon Hooker than most of the quarterbacks that are going to get drafted before him.
Well, the way I look at it is if I'm making a cross-country trip, and for most of the teams that aren't at the top, that's what they're having to make from a roster standpoint. If I'm making a cross-country trip, I would much rather be in a car that is reliable, that I know is not going to break down. It may not go 120 miles an hour. All right, it may not have a V8 in it, but I know it's going to get me from where I need to go, from where I am to where I need to go. I would much rather take a chance on that of not breaking down than go get a Ferrari or a Lambo that's going to break down when I get halfway there. Then I'm going to have to pay to fix it. Maybe it's never going to run like it did again. It's got all these problems. Why am I having to order parts from Europe? I would rather have Steady Eddie at quarterback. And we're going to get to the Booster Club in that Hendon Hooker interview in a second. But to both of you guys, I don't understand the knock on guys being older coming into the NFL now.
I don't understand.
Do you remember how it used to be when like Brandon Weeden and some of these guys came in? It was a great thing. Oh, you're 27 years old. You're mature. I don't got to worry about you going to Onyx in Atlanta and just throwing singles everywhere and getting arrested or doing a Pac-Man Jones type situation. You're 25 years old. You're not out there playing running back. You're not
Yeah.
out there playing, nickel where you got to take on guys in the box and go cover guys. You're 25 years old as a quarterback. You're going to have to throw your way to it. I want maturity. I want guys with experience. That's why I'm shocked BYU doesn't have more success than what they do, because they're all 26, 27 years old. They're not worried about going out to the club and finding a girl. They're having to pay a mortgage and take care of 2 kids. So I don't understand the knock on the age. Obviously, the injury is a big deal. We all know that. And then the system, I think there is some merit to that, to the system that Josh Heupel runs, and a little bit of it translating to the NFL. But after watching Hendon, he can make all the throws, and he's a hell of a person off the field. I just don't understand the age argument when it comes to quarterbacks.
When it comes to quarterbacks, you're exactly right. Now, when it comes to running backs, I think there's a little bit more of an argument to be made. And certainly pitchers, in baseball, I think that you can make that argument. The more throws that you have, you want to, use those arms up while they're still young. But quarterbacks, it doesn't make sense to me. You want as much maturity as possible, which brings me to the point I was going to make about Kenny Pickett, okay? Kenny Pickett went in the bottom half of the first round last season, ends up being the starting quarterback in Pittsburgh, and really had an opportunity to lead the Steelers to the playoffs. Do you think, based off what Kenny Pickett was able to do this season in Pittsburgh, that that'll make some teams go reach for Hendon Hooker, maybe get up into that first round? And if so, remember, Kenny Pickett stayed home, right? What about the Tennessee Titans? I mean, how much do you think these guys believe in Malik Willis right now? Do you go make a play at Hendon Hooker if he's there in the bottom half of the first round?
I don't think they believe in Malik Willis, to be honest with you. I think you would have seen Malik Willis play in front of Josh Dobbs, in my opinion. So I think the Titans are looking for a quarterback. Tannehill's not the answer. And there's a lot of teams. Look at a team like the Colts. If the Colts draft Will Levis, it'll be the most Indianapolis Colts thing ever of all time, and I'll never feel sorry for him again. But whether you're the Titans, and if you're Hendon Hooker, you may be a little bit in that honey hole where you're not going to get taken to a terrible team. You may get picked up by a team that has some pieces on the roster, and you can have a chance to have more success early. I mean, look, let's talk about Jalen Hurts. I'm not saying Hendon Hooker and Jalen Hurts are going to have the same success, but Jalen Hurts was very fortunate to get drafted by the Eagles. So when he went into that situation, he's not out there looking at the Texans wide receivers.
Yep.
I mean, you've got A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert. You can bump Miles Sanders out, Boston Scott, all those guys. So sometimes it is better to maybe get taken a little bit later in a better situation where when you do get your shot early, you have pieces around you to have success, because it's not a one-man show. But I do want to get to this interview with Hendon Hooker. Then we're going to get to the Booster Club, read your guys' donations. Make sure you subscribe. Hendon Hooker at the Senior Bowl. Let's go ahead and run that beautiful footage. All right, we are here with former Tennessee Volunteer standout quarterback Hendon Hooker. Hendon, I appreciate you taking some time, man. I know it's been a long journey to get here. You going from Virginia Tech to Tennessee and really upgrading the profile of an already historically great tradition place in Knoxville. Number one, how's the rehab coming? How you feeling?
Yeah, rehab's going great. Finally being able to move around like I want to without those crutches and my forearms burning all day. And to be able to work out full body and not just be working my right leg or my upper body. It's great to be able to be out here and take advantage of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Yeah, getting mental reps every day, looks like.
Yeah, mental reps, continuing to be in the playbook as if I'm going to play.
Yeah.
So it's a joy to be around these guys and learn every day.
Well, Hendon, I think you're kind of in a special class of quarterbacks at certain places where when we look back maybe 15, 20, 25 years, when you're a granddad at some point, you're really the quarterback when you look at Tennessee that got them back to where, in my opinion, they deserve to be. That fan base deserves to be talked about. Like they were talking about this year, they show up and show out every time. And then you have quarterbacks that come in after and carry on the legacy. Do you look at yourself, and I know you're a humble guy, but you were really a trendsetter at Tennessee at getting them, back on brand.
Mm-hmm. It's something that we all set out to do from January to January, and it was a blessing just to be a piece of the puzzle to get the program back where it belongs.
And, when you're hurt and you're injured, you want to be out there. There is a difference between being hurt and injured. You're definitely injured when you look at what the injury was. But, you can still get better and you can still improve. What is one thing throughout this week, even though it's been mental, that you feel like you've gained a little bit more knowledge of?
Mm-hmm. Just the verbiage and being able to regurgitate that, verbally back out and be able to communicate with the guys on the sideline about the plays. If they have any questions, they know they can come to me. If it's no responsibilities or a read, and then giving them another set of eyes on what they're getting from the defensive side of the ball. So just to be here and help those guys is cool.
Yeah. One thing I've talked about with all the guys is how cool is it now? Look, And some people like going to class. Hendon, I was never one of them. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sit here and cap in front of everybody. But now it's just football. You wake up in the morning. You don't have to worry about going to study hall or any of that stuff. It is just football. That's got to be kind of cool for somebody that's a football junkie like you.
Super cool. Cool. Now I can just go to football school all day.
There
right?
you go. That's a great way. Shoot, Tennessee's turned into the Hogwarts of football when you look at what Josh Heupel's doing. But my last question, what is your why? Why do you do this?
After my faith, my family, for sure. I just want to be a positive light in people's lives, and my family drives me to be the best me I can be every day.
Hendon, it's great to talk to you, man. You got a really bright future. Excited to see where you land, my friend.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
All right, Hendon Hooker, remember him. All right, great stopping and talking with Hendon, a guy that really handles himself and carries himself really, really well. And look, I really do believe that he's the guy. He's the spark, right? I say this all of the time. Okay, whether it's LSU, whether it's a place like Tennessee, you see it around the country. Some places, all they need is a spark. Even Nebraska, I know they're in the middle of nowhere. All right, I get that. But you give them a spark, that brand can go off. There's some golden eggs around college football in places where all they need is a little bit of momentum and they can turn a molehill into a mountain. But it was great talking with Hendon. He's always bigger than what I think he would be. Taller, a little bit longer. He's not the thickest guy. But David, watching him, I know he couldn't operate physically. He was there taking mental reps. And I think it was a good look for him to come. And I think it shows you the difference. And I know there's different circumstances, all right, in Will Levis, Stetson Bennett, and Hendon Hooker.
Yeah.
Hendon Hooker didn't have to come to this. He can't even play. But Will Levis decides to come in here and say, you know what? I feel like I'm going high enough. I don't want to screw myself over or mess myself up from a draft status standpoint. I'm not going to come. Stetson Bennett is out there not only winning natties, he's drinking them too. So, at this point, I think it's a really good look for Hendon. And in the Game of Thrones, I think he comes out of this smelling better than Stetson Bennett and, honestly, Will Levis, even though Will Levis will go higher than him.
No doubt. I'm shocked that Will Levis didn't decide to come down there and participate and really prove to people that he is the quarterback that at least a faction of the NFL pundits think he's going to be in the league. And don't even get me started on Stetson Bennett. I don't know what's going on there. This kid's not even acting like he wants to go play in the NFL ever since they won the second national championship. But good on Hendon Hooker, man. That was awesome. You guys got that interview. Standing next to him, did you get a sense that he's moving pretty well? Like he's going to recover on time? Like anything with his injury? Did you get insight into that?
Yeah, there was a lot of questions on kind of his rehab and how it was going, but watching him walk around yesterday, he told us he's working out again. He feels really good. He should be jogging by the end of March, so he feels pretty good about where he is. And that's big for NFL teams. They need to know kind of what the timeline is. How are you feeling? Let our doctors get a look at you and things like that. So Hendon, it was phenomenal to see him. He's a great person, even a better person than he is a football player, and that's hard because he's pretty damn good.